All right, so we just got our Material UI theme set up and kind of scaffolded out so we can start filling it in with the information from our design file. I'll go ahead and flip on over to the design file here, and I went ahead and added a little screenshot that I found super helpful over here. And this actually maps the different common font weight names that we'll see in the design file to the actual CSS font weight value that we'll need to put into our theme. So this should be pretty helpful to have as we work through and convert over our styles. Okay, so the first thing that we'll do is grab our colors. And you can see I kind of went monochromatic for our application here. I really like the neutral feel of the green, and I wanted a really neutral color and layout so that products of different colors could all stand out and look nice against the neutral background. But I have used a main lighter color and a darker color, and I'm actually going to use those as the primary and secondary so we have easy access to them. Okay, so what we'll do is actually right over here on the left hand side of the design file, I have the colors saved. So I can go and see that the color for our light green is 99B898. So I'm going to go ahead and copy that value and flip over to the theme. And here inside the palette section of our theme under primary, that main color, let's go ahead and paste in that color. And I've got a nice extension that goes ahead and gives me a preview of what that color is, so you can see it is that green color we expect. Now let's flip back over and we'll copy the dark green color, which is 708670. Go ahead and copy that, and we'll paste that in as the main color for our secondary color. Just like that, it's going to go ahead and apply those colors to all of the Material UI components that we'll be using. So right off the bat, a lot of stuff is going to look really nice and just how we need it. Let's flip on back over here, and I'll go ahead and copy in the rest of the colors. I'm not sure how much we'll be using them, but it's helpful to just see the pattern and to know that this is how the process works. So I'll go ahead and copy the tan color, FECEA8. Go ahead and copy that. And then in the common section, let's go ahead and put tan, and then the color that we'd like. Let's flip back over. We can copy the light red, so we can call this light red, give it that color. And then we can copy the red color, call this our red. There we go. And then copy the darker color, and we could call this an off black. And there we go. So this is how you can use the palette section of the theme to really centralize the colors in your application. It's really convenient to put all this right here. However, one thing that we're actually going to notice as we start going through and creating our typography styles is that some of the typography, say if we zoom in here, like our main text here, this is actually that same light green color. Okay, so I don't want to just go ahead and copy this color over, and then maybe in here we have the color property and we paste it in. I don't want to do that because now we've got two of this exact same color, so if we ever change one, we're going to have to go in and change both of these. Okay, so I don't want to do that. We want to really centralize our colors and styles and make this all convenient. So what I like to do is come up here and create a constant of, say, green, and then set this to that green color. Okay, and now we can replace the reference here with just that variable, or constant rather, of green. Okay, so I'll make a constant of dark green, set that equal to our dark green color, and then pass in dark green, and then I'll do the same for all these colors as well. All right, and now that I've got those, I'm going to go ahead and use a bit of a shorthand syntax here. So instead of saying that our tan color is going to be the tan constant and the light red color is going to be light red. Since these are both the exact same, tan is going to be tan, we can actually get rid of this and the colon and just leave tan, and that is shorthand for tan. So the shorthand for the property name being the same as the value is just passing the value. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that for all of these. Make sure you still get the commas, but just like that. And now we will have all those colors stored within our common section. All right, so now let's start working on building out the typography section of our Material UI theme. Here we're going to put all of these styles for all the fonts inside of our design file. Now, one thing to note, it's really the main key difference between just regular CSS and JSS. They are literally almost the exact same. You just have to tweak a few syntax things. So instead of font dash size, which would be the CSS value, we have to do font size, camel case. Okay, so instead of font weight, we will do font weight. But other than that, it's literally the exact same. So it's really easy to pick up. And then one of the other things that we have to keep in mind is in Material UI, the way we have this set up, instead of doing 6px, we can actually just do 6, and that will automatically be assumed to be the px value. Okay, so if we have a border radius and we want 50px, we could just do 50. Okay, now the difference to that is that if we want, say, 50 rem, which is our responsive unit, we can't just do 50 rem like this. This actually needs to be in a string. Okay, just like that. And same thing for percentages or view height or view width. All these need to be strings. So if it's not just a number, that needs to be a pixel value. So if we just did 50, this would be 50 pixels. But if it's any other value than that, we need to make sure it's in a string. So string your values up and use camel case, and that's basically all you need to know about JSS. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of this. Now let's go over to the design file again. And if we just look overall, we can see that there is a ton of consistency to these fonts used within this. And I really tried to stick to a nice rigid design system when I came up with this to make all this really easy, which makes it feel better for your users. Okay, so if you have a ton of different fonts and a ton of different styles, that is kind of overwhelming and it kind of just clutters and kind of breaks up the experience. It makes it more jarring. So really, you typically just want to stick to one or two fonts, a heading font and a body font, and then you can also pick a special font if you'd like as well. But in this application, I think I just stuck to the two. All right, so if we go ahead and we zoom in here, we can tell that this is the main section of the page, or like the most important part. This is the biggest text. We're really catching the user's eye because this is the first thing they see on the home page. So we're going to go ahead and make this main text right here our H1 styles. The H1 is going to be our biggest, most important text on the screen. So we're going to make it this style right here. So if we go over to the left-hand side here, you can see that this is the Philosopher font set at 72 font size and bold and italic. Okay, so a couple things to unpack there. The first is the font size. All right, so we're gonna get more into this later when we start covering responsive design, but we're going to use rem values for all of our font sizes. Okay, and rem is a value that is responsive based on the HTML font size of your application. It'll use that font size to generate responsive pixel values that are appropriately proportional. All right, and so Material UI has a default HTML font size of 16 pixels. So that means that one rem is equal to 16 pixels. So since this is 72 pixel size font, we're going to need 4.5 rem. Okay, so in typography, we're going to start off with a font size of, in string, 4.5 rem. It's going to have a font family of Philosopher, and then it's going to have a font style of italics, or just italic rather, and then we'll add a font weight, and it said that it is bold and italic. And so if we go over to the chart, we can see that bold is a font weight of 700. So font weight of 700. Okay, and since this is a number, just a plain number, it will know not to use pixels because of the font weight. But since it's just a plain number, we can just go ahead and leave it unitless. All right, and so just like that, we've now centralized and really conveniently extracted the styles for our font into our theme. And so once we start building out this page, it'll automatically, once we set the correct value for our typography component to tell it to use the H1 style, it'll automatically apply this style to whatever text we put inside of it.